Hey, Scorpio, MJ here. I'm going to go ahead and these are going to be your astrology report for the month of April. It is general. I do not have everyone's chart, so I can't compare what's in the chart, what the planets are doing now, and comparing it to your time of birth. Okay, so these are subjective by what I'm seeing at the time. You would have to look at your birth chart and compare it to where the planets are at this time and what houses they're in, and what signs they may be going through. They're like with Mercury here. When I talk about Mercury, we're going to start out with that, where it was on the 15 degrees to initially begin with, which is where it's going back to. You would have to look and see where Mercury was in your chart, and where it ruled. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump over to the astrology. But I do want to say, for the current subscribers, give a thumbs up for the video and share the link with others. Newcomers, welcome. Please consider joining the channel by checking the subscribe button. I would love having you here to help support the channel. That's a big way. You want to support it, subscribe to it. So let's go ahead and jump over. Also, kind of hang into the end, because I'm going to put a link in there, a little tag that you can go to the introduction into astrology, because I know some people say, I like the astrology, but I don't understand it. So giving you some pointers there to help out. Hopefully one day I can have a live thing going this month, maybe, where, we discuss. People get their charts, come out, and we look at them. Okay? You can email me your charts, and we can have them. Or you can even, show your time, email me your time of birth and place of birth, all that information, and we can pull it up and look at it. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump over into the astrology. All right, like I said, I'm going to start out. I'm not going to go where we are right now, but I'm going to start out where Mercury. I have an event pool over here for the month of all the transits and what's going on. And we're going to start out with Mercury when it was 15 degrees on March the 18th. Now, you might be asking why. Okay. Excuse me. The main reason why I'm bringing this up is because Mercury goes retrograde this month, and it goes stationary retrograde on the 1st, which we'll move on from that. But this is going to move back to a time around March the 16th to the 18th of what was going on at that time. And as it transits from that 27 degrees where it initially was sitting at when it was stationary, which you'll see in a minute, is going to go back to that 15 degrees. So remember that when planets go retrograde, they are going back to review, revise, look over something here in your life that needs to be reassessed or restructured, or there's a change happening depending on the planet, depending on that house that it's going back in. All right. So what is Mercury? This is the big thing. What is Mercury? What does Mercury do to us? Number one, it has to do with communication. Number two, it has to do with information. All about information we receive or information we give out, or how we communicate with one another. Mercury is the concrete and the conscious mind, being aware of something. What did you overlook, possibly in certain houses, something in your life, or some communication or information you received, or what you gave out that you may have to review? Also, the sign and the house show how and where you communicate. and assimilate the results of your relationship. So I'm looking for you guys. It's in the 6th house on March the 18th, or the 16th to the 18th. And it's in the sign of Aries. So as it was going through Aries, from the time it hit 15 degrees, went to 27 degrees, and went stationary now and then retrograde back to this time, it's for you to review all that consciousness and awareness to get the concrete information or give it that you need to seek. Making sense? Now, the 6th house deals with work, your health, and improvement. There's something here where there may have to be a change, or something in your willingness and devotion to something here in those areas of work, health, and improvement on yourself. What rules your house is not over here. The rulers are not there. Where the rulers are of this house deals with Mars, which is an internal planet, okay? It's what action you take. It's Mars is the action taker. It's driven to accomplish something here. It wants what it wants, and it will fight for it, or it will argue about it, or it will something going on here. Now, it's also known when it comes to Chiron as the warrior. It's known as the warrior, right? And in war, in battle, and sometimes even in medical situations, and going under a knife, more or less, it can cause some injuries, wounds, right? So you're having to use Mercury with reason and logic. Now, in that 6th house, what usually rules it is Virgo. Okay, Virgo is known as the healer. What is connected to Virgo is Chiron, the healer. It's like the key of whether it be information or something here to make improvement in your work or health in society, because Virgo rules your 11th house in humanity, in your spirituality. So it's a healing to the warrior that rules you. It also rules Aries, which it will be going into Aries by the end of the month. Okay? Now, let's look at what we got here. Now, I use the North and South mean nodes. And I want to give you the definitions to these, and what what they mean. Because, like I said, from now on, I'm just not going to keep repeating myself on their meanings. But these are the ones I use. These nodes are symbols of an individual's life path, personal growth, and karmic lessons that need to be learned. North node is the future, is the direction we need to go. Which, being in your 6th house, it has to do with those things of work, health, and improvement, self-analysis, discipline. What is the South node? The South node usually is something from the past, all right? But it's about our actions. I use the mean nodes. I don't use the true nodes, which are linked to the lunar, which is a imaginary point in the universe that's linked to the exact degrees of where the moon is. This has to do with the individuals. I would rather use that. So something here in your past, which so happens your house is the 12th house of where this is sitting at. So yes, there could have been, when this South node entered into your 12th house, you were dealing with your past actions that created some karma, or got you off your life path, or it was affecting your personal growth for the future. Because it's in opposition Mercury right now is in opposition to that south node. Started on March the 16th. So I will say, look back to whatever was going on between the 16th and the 18th to see what it is, what it is you need to reevaluate. Because this came exact with that south node on the 19th. Right now it's at 15 degrees, but it came 16 degrees. And it was some sort of information or some questioning or something here that you needed to do, and I don't know if you did it, that can improve your future. Look at your past actions back at that time. It's in the second decan, which is having to deal with Saturn. Saturn rules that second decan. So, what is Saturn? Saturn is where you learn to operate within those limitations of society. Responsibility, rules, fears, obstructions, limitations. Father, could be your father, could be even an instructor, a teacher. But it also is in the term belt of Jupiter, which means that there was a potential in your relationship for personal growth with others. Did you learn something here about what you were doing? Now, this is going to leave, all right, this opposition is left on March the 23rd. So something between that 16th and the 23rd of March, you were doing something. You were communicating. Maybe you were given misinformation. Maybe you received misinformation that created something where you did something that could have created some kind of loss or karma for you in your spirituality or with relationship with other people. You follow me? Now, also we have the opposition to that south node is Chiron. Were you working on healing something that maybe happened back in January the 15th? This has a lot to do with a lot of stuff. Became exact on March the 5th. Now, see, this all leads back into March. Did you have some sort of medical procedure done? Did you do something maybe in school or something pertaining with your health? Something you're maybe working on improvements in some way. But it's going to leave this energy, this opposition is going to leave on April the 15th. So these are important dates that you need to look at and see what was going on, that you have to reevaluate everything. And if you were mistaken about something, don't be fearful of saying I was wrong, because over here in the 12th house deals with loss. Now, the next thing we have, you had an opportunity maybe for some growth here, something about your future. The next thing we had is we had the south node to the ascending. This was coming up on March the 18th. So something from the back in January the 15th, I think it was what I said, had to deal with that. Then on March the 5th, all right, something went on between then and there that came into results with that south node or the ascending that was coming. This was coming up on March the 18th. I know what happened in mine, and it began on the 18th, it was rising on the 18th, and it left on the 18th. And it was at the exact degree, the ascending. Ascending means something that's over here on the horizon that is coming up. Something out of your personal life, something about you that is ascending and rising up. And all this energy is conjunct. When I say these energies are conjunct, that means they're working off of each other. Mercury was working on over to the ascending. So you knew something was coming up that pertained back to that certain time. Also, the conjunction with Mercury to the North Node, dealing with the future. Also, with the North Node to Chiron to correct, heal some wounds. But it all between the two had something to do with something of Mercury ascending. So now, what did these effects do? Because they're all T-squares. All right, we see the squares. All this combined energy was creating squares. Now, what are squares? Squares are opportunity where either you've got some stumbling blocks, you're trying to build something for the future, or you're doing something here, but it's how you, it's up to you how you deal with this or how you dealt with this that shows what you're like on the inside to the outer world, because this is dealing with your third house, which Mercury rules in Gemini, the information. You may have had a goal or a plan or something here because it was squaring the sun and Neptune, which is about Pisces is our wishes, our goals, something about children, something about creating something, your self-expression, how you express yourself. This is in the areas of your family, maybe how you communicated with them about a wish you have, a hope, or something here. But there was limits placed in those, as much as and Venus was exalted in this house at that time. And the moon, which we'll talk about in a minute, was in its house of rulership. And so was Neptune. Now, the moon is connected to Pisces as well, because Pisces, and well, mostly Neptune, not so much Pisces, it's water, it's emotions, it's the tides, it's the oceans, it's all those things that create those feelings in some way. And this was all in your sector of relationship. So something definitely, the communication of in your outer life, we're talking about the midheaven in opposition to the moon, something got activated here because that's what sextiles are. Concrete consciousness, awareness of what you were feeling or what someone was feeling or maybe feeling or what you were feeling that had to deal with what was being felt in your relationships with others. And it's in an opposition. So if something in your outer life was affecting something here that was dealing in relationships. And I've got to say, the part of fortune is there, and I will give you a definition here on the part of fortune so you can see what that means as well. It's a point in an astrological chart, and this is why your birth chart is so important, that is calculated mathematically based on the positions of the sun, the moon, and the ascending. And what was I just talking about? Mercury was ascending. And that something about your future was coming up. Something about wounds, healing, getting the right, proper information so you know what action to take. And where you get this calculation, you can find the happiness, success, and fulfillment with a sense of abundance and well-being. Now, keep in mind, this is all in astrology, and since I don't know your chart, it's a belief system, and its interpretation is subjective. That's why I said it's general. But what I'm seeing for Scorpios, this was dealing with your third house, which deals with those areas of relationships. Your ninth house, which deals with your life. So something in your outer life affecting you yourself, which had an impact in your family. It was challenging. I don't know how you handled it, but we had sextiles here, squares here going up to the moon because it was focused on the emotions, how it made you feel, and all this energy here combined together. When you get a stellium of energy of planets in one sign, it really creates a lot more energy because they're all connected together. And they're using that energy. Now, what's interesting here is that with this Lilith, I used the medium or the mid Lilith. God, I got tongue twist here. And I'll give you the definition on that one as well. So you'll have it. What it shows is it's not like it's not like the black moon Lilith. This with the black Lilith has to deal a lot with something hidden, the shadow, things that's not shown until some of the moon connects with it or the sun connects with it and really brings something out in the shadow. This particular Lilith has a lot to do with you in itself. It relates to your authority, your sensuality, your sexuality. You openly resist or refuse to obey or go along with friends or groups, social groups, because that's the 11th house. And it's something here where there could be, maybe you refuse to go along with something and you kind of put your foot down about something here. And you didn't want to go along with it, or you didn't agree with something until you really started really looking at it. But this Lilith connects to the inner shadow. And these are areas that where you kind of put your foot down, you kind of set the boundaries, which is Saturn here. And sometimes you might express some anger, depending on what's going on in your outside life, with groups or spirituality. Some people not into spirituality. They have a conflict there. Now, what's interesting about what I said about all this energy being conjunct and feeding off and working together, we had in this one, they're called quincunxes, but they were also known as inconjunct. So when something's conjunct, it's working perfectly together for a reason, a purpose, or a goal. When it's inconjunct, which the mid-Lilith is here, to the North Node. So the North Node was inconjunct to Lilith about what you were doing. So there was people maybe in that 11th house in relationships that wasn't working, or you weren't agreeing to go with the grain. You were resistant to it. Let's say you were talking to people who are have a lot of faith. They're and you just don't agree with it. Okay? You don't want to hear it. Okay. Maybe you set your foot down. Don't want to talk about it anymore. Now, but it's in relationships. But somebody could have been said, hey, if you had a lot more faith in something, maybe in yourself or in a higher being than yourself, things would go a lot better for you. Your health would be better. Your daily activities would be better. Because the 6th house is about how you handle those daily activities. And maybe you need to change something in your life, and being willing or being devoted to something here that you need to change in your family life for the future, which would make things a lot more better for you. Maybe somebody in the family wants to put the foot down, or telling you need to put your foot down on your family and you need to do this, and you're totally against somebody telling you how to raise your children or in a daily way. The next thing, and this happened somewhere around in February, and it became exact, that degrees with that North Node, on March the 7th. Again, this is all dealing with March. And this energy, this inconjunct, is going to leave on March the 19th. Or it left on March the 19th. It's already passed. And this is another reason why Mercury going retrograde. You're going back to reassess something here. And the next inconjunct or quincunx that you have here with this Lilith is Lilith the Chiron. Somebody's a refusal to just not go along with what maybe you're something in your family or whatever. You don't agree with them or they don't agree with you. And this again, it entered on February the 8th of this year. And it became exact on March the 10th. And it's going to leave, this inconjunct is going to be there until April the 17th, which is very interesting because Mercury is going to go stationary and direct, which we'll talk about later, on April the 25th. So it gives you that time to reassess something here before you can go back over it and look at things and say, well, maybe I do need to change this. Maybe I need to eat more healthier. Maybe I need to communicate with people in a better way. You know, say, don't get angry about something and don't get kind of hostile about it. Just, but it connects you to that something that's sort of a shadow within you that you sort of maybe suppress. And maybe you're willing to be more open-minded. Maybe you're more willing to be a little bit more lenient. But anger gets you nowhere. Trust me, it don't. It don't get you anywhere. And all these squares that you got here is showing how you deal with these things and how it may activate others in your life. So I just kind of want to bring these dates up so you can go back and reassess and review them in some way of what was going on here. Because you can see here is a big T-square here, and there's also this T-square here with the moon. It starts out with the upper one, of what, in your relationship or in your life, how it made you feel. Okay? How am I going to heal it? Maybe I hurt somebody's feelings and I didn't mean to. Maybe I, lost a good friend or something here. And then it switches over here saying, hey, maybe you need to change something here. Maybe you need to be more open to receive something and learn from it. Because all this created sort of a trapezoid that can give you that something that's coming from outside of your personal life or your personal self, that can give you that expansion and growth. Because that's what Jupiter's all about. Rewards, expansion, growth. And maybe with this as well, not being totally restrictive, because this is combined with Venus. And Venus is that your capacity to love. And what is the moon? It's our heart, it's our emotions. You shouldn't limit the love and the compassion for others. We should have empathy for others, that, and help in a way that maybe we can from just a little bit, but not to the point to where it's detrimental to your family as well. You got to change something here. And those sextiles deal with activation. It shows where there's opportunity for productivity and success. but it's a mental attitude that needs to be activated here. And what did I say about Mercury? It's the concrete and conscious mind. And you got to use reason and logic. Got to be sometimes maybe a little bit more analytical of maybe your family here or yourself in the family in relationship with them. Think back. Now let's go ahead and go on to Mercury. Where Mercury began on April the 1st at that 27 degrees. And it was telling you, you've noticed something here, but you had to, something in here in your goals. Because remember, Venus was down here conjunct with Saturn. And it was like, show some compassion here. Now what's conjunct with it is Mars. Now when Mars conjuncts with Saturn, okay, it creates a malefic, not a benevolent, I have trouble with that word, benefic effect, which is very, benefic effect, like if Venus gets over here with Jupiter, it creates that energy where it can be very helpful, useful, good, advantage, benefit, gain, positive, impact, and perks. When these two get together, it's called malefic effect. And it can be harmful or evil in intent to maybe the family. So is it something you did that in the 4th house, in your house of family and home, that maybe now is creating some harm effect here? And you need to be, this is the opportunity for you to really look at something during this retrograde going back to correct these squares, because, this is the eternal flame. It's connected with Libra over here. It's connected with this South Node. Something with, your future, the eternal flame within you. And it's going into Cancer. And with the midheaven, it's your outer life. What is influencing in your outer life that is influencing and can be very destructive to your family? You want to protect your family. You want to protect your children. You want to protect your spouses. So wherever Scorpio is in your chart, really look at those dates that I told you that is so important during this retrograde that can really help you to heal the wounds. Because now the ascending is over here where that Lilith is at. That I talked about earlier. Now let's go on to Venus, where it ingresses now. Is conjunct with, got a lot of conjunctions here. I mean, it's like this energy, this is coming up with the ascending. It's showing you something. It's on the horizon on that April the 1st. Also, the conjunction with, there's a change that needs to be for personal growth. You're going to go through, experience something with this Mercury going back through. And the sun here being in Aries is exalted. The moon in your 3rd house, remember it was up here? Now it's down here and it's in detriment. Is this a chance or an opportunity maybe for you to say, I was wrong in what I felt? Maybe I was overbearing. Maybe I was trying to control too much. Because we do have a square that's going over there to the sun, which the sun represents a purpose. It enlightens us. It's growth. It gives us growth. And it's communication, information, consciousness, being aware of something here about your wishes. And again, like I said, this deals with this being, can be about your hopes and wishes and the capacity to love and our everyday activities through those emotions and our attitudes and our habits and our general moods and how you adapt to the environment. It's relationship to Venus's relationship to, or I'm sorry, that's the moon, the mother. Venus is where there's that capacity to love, and it's about your values and attitudes and what you need in love. And the house, which is right here for you, has a lot to do with the family, your children, your love affairs, your romantic attachments, maybe with your spouse, that maybe you need to show that love in a compassionate way. And don't let outside influences affect something. I mean, if something happens at work, how many times have we had things happen at work and we come home and take it out on the family? I have this one motto about things. When you come home from work, no matter where it is, whether you're a man or a woman or whatever's going on, and you need to teach this to your children too, because they're going to school and I'm sure they're in their with their peer groups are being judged in some way, and maybe they come home with things that aren't that great, is that we all need to put the motto on our front door: wipe off your feet from the outside world before you enter. To not bring whatever's going out in the world into your home. Whatever door is mostly used to go in and out of your house, make up a sign if you can. If you're very creative, make up a sign. Wipe your feet of the outside world before you enter into the home. In other words, don't bring what things are troubling you outside into the home. You can always talk about it. You know something's going on. If a child says, I don't want to talk about it, it's okay. When you get ready, I'm here. Your spouses, if they don't want to talk about it, it's okay. When you're ready, I'm here. But I know something's wrong. And anytime you want to talk about it, I'm here. That's where you're giving the love and support to the children and each spouse to each other. And you work through those things together as a family. And you show you have that capacity to love or support someone in their goals and wishes and their hopes. Now we're going to go through the total eclipse that's going to happen, total solar eclipse that's going to happen on April the 8th. Now, there's been all this talk about this stuff going on in the news and the media, and it's all because, this is like, this is happened, and, it goes back to 2017, and this hasn't, and now in 2024, which is exactly 7 years later, a lot of this is, when you start talking, you're probably going to be around a lot of people that say, okay, 7 is a biblical number. I'm not going to deny that. It is. It deals a lot with perfection, completeness, peace, laws. But I've got to say, this is like the Gentiles. If you ask, a lot of people will tell you, spiritual leaders will tell you, that the lunar eclipse is connected to the Jewish community, to Israel, and that the solar eclipse is dealt with to the Gentiles. I find that to be very true. So, and I also say stay out of solar eclipses, because this one, interesting with this one is it's in Aries, and the sun is exalted. That means it's going in this peak. It's at its peak. And I do know that I've heard some time back that they were talking about this being the year that the sun would be at its peak. But the sun and the moon go through 11-year cycles. They start at a certain degree, and they get more intense after 11 years, and then they start to go down the next 11 years. Means their energy on the earth is not as strong. They kind of level off. If you notice, people will say, weathermen or people who study, weather things related, they often say when there are a lot of solar spots, the dark spots on the sun, that means that the sun's showing more activity and it's intensifying. And then next thing you know, you got this release of solar flares, all right, that leads to that. Then yes, it is showing there's an intensity in its energy. That's why I hate people that talk about climate change. This is nothing new. It's been going on forever. You just got to know the signs. And when there's solar spots on the sun, its energy is intensifying. When there's less solar spots, which we will eventually see, and there won't be as many solar flares, it won't be as intense. The weather will be a lot more kind of normal. Just, what you could call normal. But people are getting too hyped up on this. But I do say, and a lot of the tribal people believe to stay out of the sun during solar eclipses. Wished I had, because in 2017 in August, when that happened, man, all I felt was doom and gloom because it came right over my head. I just felt like this doom and gloom was going to happen. And sure enough, for the last 7 years, I've had doom and gloom. I went through hell. I will say that. I went through hell. But it's okay. I learned a lot of things during that time. I learned things about myself. I learned things about my devotion to my faith. Reconnected in my faith, which has done wonders for me as a person. I cut off a lot of relationships that were not healthy for me. So stay out of the solar eclipse. A lot of people want to run to see it. Don't. Please don't. Do not get in the path of this thing. But it's also representation of a new beginning. So if you've been suffering a lot, it's time for a new beginning. It's a time for healing. And I will say this, 19 is that number for healing. Healing the wounds that have been created. And look at the time, 24. Look at the number or the degrees of Mercury, 24. Same as the time. It's time to heal. And 24, if you study religions, you'll find out that 24 is a representation of the heavenly government. Where 12 is man's government, it is time for the heavenly government. It's a sign. And God always tells us, look to the heavens. He's going to show you a sign. And is this a sign for the Gentiles? It's time to heal. It's also about the sun and the blood. And what did I say? 19's healing. It's time to heal those wounds. It's time to release them. And that's what this is about. What was past is done. You're forgiven. So surrender it. Let it go. Look for the balance in your life. Don't dwell on those things or those people or something here, and don't create events or effects that can cause harm to others in your family. If you need to say I'm sorry, say you're sorry. I don't have a problem with that. If I'm sorry that someone feels like I hurt them, there was no evil intent there to do so. It was an attempt to awaken others around me that how you perceive me is not reality. I'm not like that, what you think. We change in our lives every 7 years because we learn growth. What you maybe did when you're 20s, you don't do it anymore in your 30s. You begin, and then in your 40s, you don't do it. Every 7 years, like my grandmother used to say, your life's going to change every 7 years. I couldn't understand that, but I do get it now. She was definitely right. And by the time you become a senior, boy, you're going to learn a lot of things about change. And people need to wake up. And this sun and moon, with this sun being exalted, and Venus coming into this, all right? Still in conjunct with Neptune here. It's about our hopes and wishes and our capacity to love and forgive. And you're going to go back over things to get to that 15 degrees to really look at something. Now, on the April the 19th, we're going to move into Taurus season. And when the moon moves through Taurus, which when it'll come back around, it'll be I believe there is a full moon. Yeah, there. I think it's I believe that next full moon's going to be in Taurus. I'll give you a date. No, the full moon will be in Scorpio because it'll be in opposition here to the moon, and the moon will be in detriment here because the moon, or in the fall, because it doesn't work well in Scorpio because it doesn't show much compassion there. Sorry, but it's about death and rebirth as well, because Scorpio is the transformer. It's transformation because of what rules it. It's Mars rules it, the internal planet. The outer planet that rules it is Pluto. Pluto is about transformation. It's about death. It's about regeneration. And this is in your first house. Something about you is going through, in your home and your family, a big transformation and a change. Now, it will go back into your life in May the 2nd, or it'll go retrograde, moving back into Capricorn. It won't be there long. It'll go to 29 degrees, but it will move back in there in hold on, I'll tell you in a minute. when it will move back into your life, and this may bring up something with what happened in March, okay? That it needs to be, you need to deal with it, and then that's it. Leave it. Let it go. Okay. September the 2nd. This is very interesting to me because this goes retrograde at 2 degrees May the 2nd. All right. And then it's going to enter. I like numbers. I love numbers. Always have as a kid. I loved math going to school. God, that was my favorite class. It's going to enter back into Capricorn on September the 2nd at 29 degrees, and it will stay there and will not go back into Aquarius, where it will set for the rest of 20 years and doing what it's doing in Aquarius. It will go back November the 19th. So that gives you some idea that, that once this, because to me, 29 is a number of departure. 2 is a number of union, or this, union. Wherever there was division or your dreams, something here, something being confirmed, and then it's going to go retrograde and move back. Means it's going back over where Neptune was at 29 degrees before. Or Pluto. Why did I say Neptune? Pluto was at 29 degrees before. So whatever was departing, this comes a time when you need to go back over that of what departed, what left, what happened. Anytime when I do the astrology for each one, I like to look at what is retrograde and where it was and where it's going back to. So let's go back and look at that time of what the past was, because there needs to be something here that either goes through some sort of transformation during that time, especially with Pluto, because Pluto is about change. Pluto is about the death of something, letting it die, bury it, mourn it, let it go, let go of the loss or whatever it was, and it's time for regeneration. And it's time, meaning with 29, is something you need to get it out of your head, let it go, release it from your thoughts. You done dealt with it. It's done. It's finished. It's gone. That's it. Let it leave you. Okay? So retrogrades, like I said, I like to really go look at them and see what's going on, because I know what happened with me when it came with Mercury and what went on. Now, there is a T-square here with this sun going into Taurus. That's coming from an exalted state. And when the moon gets around here, the moon is going to be exalted. I meant to be looking at when the moon gets in Taurus next month. Let me look at the date. Right before the sun moves into Gemini, the moon will be in its waxing phase. It will be sort of a new moon at 18 degrees. In Taurus. Well, it's not really a new moon. Yeah, it is a new moon. It will be a new moon in Taurus on the 18th of May. So you can kind of know that when this gets around here, the moon will be exalted. Because anytime something is exalted in one house, and it shows that exaltation, it's almost elevated to a thing of perfection. Um, in that house. And not only that, Venus will be moving up in here as well. Now, I do want to bring up the fact that where this sits at here is telling you something with the ascending. Is the apex. It has to do with this Lilith as well at 22 degrees. And then it has to deal with Mars here at 21 degrees, which is what these are too. And something here is being activated about change because Uranus is the changer. And this is 21 is like a number of completion. Rights and privileges. I mean, it's completion. Something here is done. And when it goes into 22, and then whatever Mars has done is done. And it's sort of a family, with your family, but it's connected also over here into your spirituality. You may be dealing with some sort of conflict with others in what you believe, because Pisces is a house of what we believe. Others may not agree with you, and if they don't, that's okay. They don't have to. Don't get angry because somebody doesn't agree with what you believe. And don't worry if they get angry with you because they don't believe what you believe. You don't believe what they believe. You don't believe what they believe. Can't you just look at one and say, can we agree? We don't agree. And let it go at that. They can either like you for who you are or not. Unless you're changing yourself and you're working. I mean, it's, and it's still connected to that energy of Saturn, where there's limitations, slowing things down. You may feel like something is against you. You're wanting to get something done and you feel like something's slowing you down, like it's doing something harmful, a harmful intent. Like a sort of some people could say almost an evil intent. Somebody, has an intent here. So don't be surprised, especially with the ascending being in this, in Gemini, going back over here to Mercury, was fixing to hit that 15 degrees retrograde, and then it'll go stationary and direct. Now let's go on over to the full moon. That's going to happen on April the 23rd. Look what we got here is a Grand Cross. And we got 5 T-squares going on here. Remember, T-squares are where you're trying to possibly build something, but there's stumbling blocks in that what you're trying to build here. And how you handle these is going to say what you're like on the inside. So will this be a difficult full moon? Yes, definitely. Because the moon is in a fall. And when a moon is in the fall, it feels this sort of dishonor. And when we're talking about things being in a fall, if a planet is in the opposition of its sign of exaltation, which it definitely is the moon, because its sign of exaltation is Taurus, then it feels sort of this dishonor, being dishonored. Don't take it personal. But something here is coming up. And is it leading over to the 7th house? Yes. Venus is in a detriment. So something here within relationships, with the moon being in a fall, when it comes in, when Venus comes in, it's connected to all this energy. But this is going to be where Venus is also in its rulership. It rules this house, just like it rules Libra. But it's something about maybe fixed energy, or when I say fixed energy, we've got signs here that are fixed energy, and all of this deals with the signs of fixed energy. Taurus is a fixed sign. Leo is a fixed sign. Scorpio is a fixed sign. Aquarius is a fixed sign. This means that these are the elements where they are creatures of habit. They repeat things. Maybe there's some habits that need to be broken, that you need to change, that create the stumbling blocks. If you are a person or somewhere in your chart, like for you, Scorpio, it has to do with the 7th house here and how you focus on the 7th house in your relationships and partnerships. Maybe you handle things in a certain way that where you're a creature of habit, you keep doing the same thing over and over again. Break the bad habits. Change them. End them. Maybe you need to show more compassion to the partner. Maybe you need to show that devotion and love. Maybe you need to express something of what your goals are, what you believe. Maybe you need to take more action, because with this right here, this Mars energy coming in conjunct with Neptune, don't get into the negativity of illusion. This is the time for you to take the action to have this growth. Because the next thing, like I said, remember, I was talking about the degrees on these. Because the next thing, when Mercury goes stationary, remember I said these were 21? Completion? All right? When Mercury goes stationary at that 15 degrees, look at the 22. 22. It's time to stop whatever is over here and heal. Let the healing happen. Put the action in the healing. Be kind of like with my thing, I'm always saying, what would Jesus do? And I try to keep that philosophy. And I know there's something here where there could be some illusions or delusions that you think something else. And it's because of outside. Like I said, if you're against religion, I don't fault anybody. If you're an atheist, that's your choice. I mean, definitely this is not the channel for you. If your belief is way out there somewhere, that's you. That's your choice. But I know what my faith has done for me, and I can be the testament to what it has done in my life and the miracles that have happened. And how it has helped me through 7 years of walking in actual health. At my lowest points in life, I was never alone, and I was know that I was not alone. But there's something here in your 4th house of your home, okay, where there's habits, where there needs to be some change. Definitely. Some things here might need to end in this area and improve upon them. And change those habits that you have that's created from outside in your outer life, because it's affecting your family. I don't know what it is, but I know it's got some evil intent to it. That's an influence. The next thing we have now, Mercury's going to go direct. So I hope you have gone back and looked over these things and really begin to work on things. Because now Venus moves into Taurus, where it is exalted. And I'm going to say this, by the end of the month, we've got 3 planets in their sign of rulership. Neptune will be in its sign of rulership. Mars will be in its sign of rulership. And Venus will be in the sign that it rules. Which is good. Good. It's more easier to work here in that when they're in the rulership. So this Venus will be exalted here. And hopefully by the time Venus gets here with the changes occurred, and that peak is now over and done, things, I feel like things are going to be really, really tough this month and surprising, and all these other things that we learn about ourselves, we learn about others, we learn about communicating, and things change in such a way that we awaken to reality and get out of illusion and hold ourselves accountable. Who cares if, anybody else holds you accountable, but hold yourself accountable for something you're doing. And maybe to really stand up and grow up and say, hey, I'm doing all this stuff to myself. By who I'm hanging around with, by who I'm dealing with who I'm doing business with, all this stuff that's going on, it's got to change. And looking at illusions instead of reality. I would rather live in a world where it's real than it's just a big illusion and fantasy. To only be, because there's people's going to, 7 years from now, they're going to realize what I had to go through. They're going to go through, and I hope they wake up, and I hope they realize, what the heck did I do to my life? Because I had to wake up from the illusion. And it was a real waker-upper. Wake up and smell the Folgers. And then the last thing we have here is we have Mars moves into Aries, which is a sign it rules as well. And there's no really major thing, but you can see everything kind of quiets down. There is some conjunction here going on with the moon passing over or passing in the connection with Pluto, in the alignment with Pluto. And then this is going to be going backwards. So something here as it passes through, there could be some sort of change that happens. Always have the ability to have the capacity to love. There's nothing stronger that can beat fear and beat the darkness and everything else other than love and compassion for others. But don't do it to the extreme that is harmful to you. Live in reality. Search for information. Find out the truth. There's nothing stronger then the capacity to love and the honesty of it. And that's what I said. We're going to have 3 planets here that are going to be in their houses of rulership. One of them is an external planet, or what I call an interpersonal planet, meaning its effects last a certain amount of time, longer, like Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. Whatever's going on here, it reached that peak Uranus of rebellion. And there's some things that you can rebel to something till all of a sudden it breaks you down and creates, where it humbles you. It's like, it's almost like, where parents, children will sometimes rebel against parents so much that when all of a sudden they realize they're out there on their own, and mom and daddy says, well, I ain't helping you, you're on your own. It's like when the bird is in the nest and the parent bird's gotta, kind of move the bird out of the nest after it's been, fed it all this time and showed it this. It's got to learn to fly. Okay, it's got to learn to go out there and feed itself. Got to learn to go out there and build its own nest. Okay, so parents do the best they can. A lot of times, good parents do the best they can, but children will have a tendency to rebel, and they will go against because of the outside influences. And these are discussions you need to have with them: who they're hanging around with, where they're spending their time, what are they spending most of their time on. These are things you need to look at. Okay, that's what I got for you guys, Scorpio. Like I said, if you would, please, you subscribers that are been around, give the video a thumbs up, share the link with others. Newcomers, welcome. Please consider joining the channel by checking the subscribe button. I would love having you help support the channel in that way. Okay, that's all I ask, is support the channel in that way. Also, if you would, you'll notice at the end here I have an introduction to the astrology. Check it out. And if you have any questions, put them under that video. Okay? So I'm going to say y'all take care, and I will see you on the other side. Bye for now.